This forest should be dead. It's been on fire, it's been drowned, it's been starved through a 1,000-year drought, and it's still here. So, what are these trees? The tallest living things on Earth hiding? They were here before this country had a name. Before the Roman Empire, these trees are unlike anything else on our planet. And in all that time, every fire, every flood, every drought California could throw at them, they never stopped standing or growing. Some as much as 300 feet tall? That shouldn't be possible. So how have they done it for thousands of years? Well, the answer is something you wouldn't expect. These trees have been hit by fires, floods, droughts for 2,000 years. And they survived not just one, but all three natural disasters. I'm Jabari Thomas, and for more strange and interesting places like this with a hidden gem, there's plenty more to watch after this. While every other tree around it is burned to the ground, these gentle giants have watched fire for 2,000 years and kept standing. But how? Fire kills everything on this planet, and it can wreak havoc across hundreds of acres of land, leaving what was once a forest to a scarred open field. So when scientists first realized that there was one living organism that doesn't just survive the fire, but in some ways seem to need it, it only leaves a question that's been hanging over these tall trees for 2,000 years. Is fire the redwood's worst enemy? Or is it perhaps its oldest friend? To answer it, scientists have been studying them for centuries, cutting into the bark, counting the rings, and what they found didn't match what everyone expected. Because here's what's strange. These trees that can grow up to 10 feet in a single year aren't just built to survive fire, flood, and drought. They might be built to outlast them on purpose. Coming up, the secret hiding inside the bark and the people who figured it out long before the scientists ever did. Later to discover that somehow, underground, all of these trees are connected. But for now, how does a tree outlast fire, flood, and droughts for 2,000 years? Well, the answer is actually 3 secrets, one for each enemy, and they're hiding in plain sight. The first secret is in the bark. It doesn't look like much from the ground, but it can be up to a foot thick, fibrous, and packed with tannins. This is the combination that makes it naturally fire resistant. Fire basically licks up the outside. The living tissue underneath stays cool. When the cones open and release their seeds, the fire has cleared the forest floor so that the next generation can grow. You can basically say that the trees are cloning themselves. Fire doesn't kill these trees. It just makes clear space for them. It's not the enemy. It's the gardener. But the people who figured that out first didn't just study this forest. They worked with it. For generations, they set it on fire on purpose because they knew that was the only way that these trees could survive. If you designed a tree to survive a fire, you designed this one on purpose. But once scientists figured out the secrets of the fire and bark, they started asking more obvious questions. If the bark is the answer to fire, then what's the answer to the rest of it? Because this forest doesn't just burn, it also gets flooded and starved. For the next clue, you have to look down. That's where the second secret lives. These trees don't grow in just any soil, anywhere. They grow along the rivers, in floodplains that swallow their roots for weeks at a time. If it were any other tree here besides the redwoods, the water would drown it and rot the roots. But the redwood roots are very unique. They don't grow that deep, maybe 10 feet down. Instead, they stretch their arms outward, sometimes stretching outwards 100 feet in length. So it would make sense that all of these trees are twined and bind to each other, making these ancient trees even more resilient, tangling with its neighbors below the earth. Think of it less like a tree standing in water and more like a net woven into the ground. So when the flood does come and everything else washes away, they just stand there and wait it out, as if they are all locking arms. They're not fighting the flood. They're built to be drowned. And then there's the third enemy, the one you can't see coming, the drought. California's driest months are in the summer, exactly when a tree needs water most. When summer comes, the rain stops completely. So the redwood does something no tree this size has any right to do. It drinks the air. Every morning, fog rolls off the Pacific coast and swallows these hills. The fog is actually so consistent in daily life there that the locals gave him a name, Carl the Fog. And the redwood, through its needles and through its bark, pulls that water straight out of the mist before it ever even touches the ground. The roots aren't even the main water source. The tree's own skin is. Fire, flood, droughts. These trees have seen it all and outlasted it all. But that's not the only dangers these forests face. Something even more powerful than natural disasters. Before the 1800s, California flourished with more than 2 million acres of ancient old-growth redwoods. Then there was the San Francisco Gold Rush. More redwood trees went down during this time as a source of lumber. Now, at that time, they didn't see anything wrong with cutting down these prehistoric trees. In fact, there were so many trees, they just saw it as an endless supply until it wasn't. Today, only 4 to 5% of the original old-growth redwood forests exist. Once scientists realized what was happening, they immediately set out on a mission to regrow the forests and halt intensive logging. They would even take helicopters above the forest floors to drop seeds, hoping that some of them would sprout and grow. Good news. The plan worked. The trees were spreading all over and they were growing. But there was a problem with how the seeds landed. Some of them just inches away from each other, taking growth, therefore crowding the space. The redwoods weren't getting enough sunlight because they were on top of each other. They were all competing. So another mission is in effect today, to cut down some of the redwoods that are competing with each other, to give 1 or 2 of these trees a chance at a healthy life. So far, the mission is a success. The trees now have room to stretch out and get the sunlight they need and pull the moisture from the air without being so crowded. But we can't blame the total disappearing trees solely on intensive logging. The honest tension, climate change is intensifying fires so much that the heat has passed what even these trees evolved to survive. That's why today, the survivors are now endangered by the very thing that saved them. They aren't doomed. It's only a quiet urgency for now.
But the real lesson here is not that these trees are unbreakable. It's that they worked with the very thing that tried to kill it, not against it. Maybe that's the West Coast wisdom out here, is that you have to let it burn sometimes just to survive the flood.
But yet, other corners of California weren't so lucky. Imagine a place where rainwater turns toxic. The beach sand is made of crushed fish bones, and a former celebrity playground lies completely abandoned. So what actually happened to California's largest man-made lake?
Today, the only thing that's famous about this place is that it's dead.
Welcome to Bombay Beach.